Hi everyone, welcome back to the weekly politics show. I'm Councillor Premier with co-host Councillor Andrew Wood on Relax Radio. So on this section, we're going to talk about the PSPO. To be or not to be, I'm just running out of literary phrases to describe what's happened. So Andrew, this was the moment where you've actually campaigned, you've actually put it on the agenda, you got people to respond to it. You've actually written on social media. There was an article out as well. People responded to that. It had a lot of response as a consultation, and then you had the cabinet meeting, and then you find out what. Go on to tell us. Go.
Okay. As a reminder, NOx are those little silver canisters. I just realised I got them over there. That kind of litter the streets where people inhale the gas, the nitrous oxide called laughing gas as well, into a balloon and then inhale it, and it gives you a high for 90 seconds. So for years we've been trying to restrict their use, because the problem is that when people use the NOx canisters, they don't do it in their bedroom at home. They don't go to some quiet place or do it in somebody else's home. What they do is they quite often drive in their car and they go to a residential street late at night and have a bit of a party with their mates, and they inhale lots of NOx canisters and maybe something else, maybe alcohol or some other drugs, sometimes, not always. Chicken wings, they always seem to be eating chicken wings at the same time. Maybe it makes them hungry. And then they throw this stuff all over the place. So in the morning you find these canisters and chicken wings and balloons all over the place. But, because they're doing it close to people's homes, it creates antisocial behavior because it's noisy. And, these young men, sometimes when they're asked to be quiet or to move away, are not very nice in response. So the whole point of a public space protection order is it will be live in the next week or so once the signs go up. And it basically allows the police and Tower Hamlets enforcement officers to go along and actually tell people, because they never had this power before, believe it or not, they could actually tell people, stop using the NOx canisters. It probably allows them to take them away from people because they're banned. And it also allows them to issue a £100 fixed penalty notice if people actually are inhaling these NOx canisters, if it's in a public place. So if you're doing it in your bedroom, then these powers do not apply at all. These powers only apply in a public place, and if it's causing, issues for other people. So if you're in the middle of a car park in the middle of nowhere, again, it doesn't impact anybody else and they can't use these powers. But anyway, the key point was, I asked a question in the scrutiny committee, are the police all, ready to use this power in Tower Hamlets? And the answer that came back was no. So the council's argument was, it's because there's a high turnover of officers, they're not going to inform or train the bulk of police officers in Tower Hamlets about this new power that they've got to issue these fixed penalty notices. So they're only going to issue it to these small specialist teams, some of whom don't work at night. So some of these teams only work during the daytime, and most NOx use that causes issues is a nighttime issue. So it's entirely possible that the total number of police officers who know about these powers and have been trained how to write the fixed penalty notice, might be 10 or 15 officers out of the, 600 plus officers we've got in Tower Hamlets. So it's kind of, what was the point of all of this work? Because the whole point of this was to give the police more powers to deal with NOx canisters and the behavior that goes with it. And now the answer is, well, actually, we're not even going to tell most police officers that they have these powers, which is, I wasn't particularly happy with. So
I guess we're Tower Hamlets Council following a nudge kind of strategy where you just put up the signs and hope that people think that it's going to be enforced. It does seem a bit weird. Just thinking about it, I think people might be reluctant. Council officers might be reluctant because of civil liberties implications. But there's certain it's a legal activity as long as you do it in your home. As soon as you go outside, you're causing offense. And there's, you could dress indecently at home, inside your home, but if you go outside, that's a different matter. But I just don't. I don't get it. We're spending money on this, Andrew. Why why are we not doing something about it?
And I don't understand it, because I mean, my understanding is that police officers do 2-year shifts, so they'll go to a team for 2 years. Almost certainly the bulk of them will stay in the borough for more than 2 years, because what's the point of moving police officers around boroughs every 2 years? That doesn't make sense. And all we're basically sort of saying is, they just need some training on, that's a NOx canister. And if you see people using it, you can basically write this fixed penalty notice, which is not a particularly difficult process. And you have the ability to fine people £100 if they, don't stop using them. So why you wouldn't tell the police that, and your argument is, oh, there's high turnover. But the problem is the public space protection order only lasts for 3 years at a time. You can extend it after 3 years, but they only last for 3 years at a time. And it seems a bit crazy not to use the powers that you've got. Because what I had been hoping was, perhaps when it starts getting hot, perhaps in June, when we've got lots of antisocial behavior, the police do this big blitz one weekend and basically, issue lots of fines, so that the following weekend, the young men, when they drive their car, they think, oh, actually, let's not go to Wapping because the police will be waiting for us and I don't want to pay the £100. Let's drive to some car park in the middle of nowhere and do it there where the police won't hassle us. Because that's all we basically want, is we want them to inhale the NOx. Well, we don't want them to inhale NOx because there are some negative health consequences. But if they have to do it, we want them to do it in a place where it doesn't annoy other people. And now the worst scenario will be is that we have a public space protection order, but it's not enforced fully.
Yeah. Just a quick question. What are the next steps now? So what are the next steps for you in this? In the sense that, Andrew, you've kind of seen it from the beginning and you thought you've reached the end, but it seems like there's more work to be done. Have you thought about what your next steps are going to be, or what do you want the public to do about it, for example?
Yes, I mean, so this will go live probably next week once the signs go up, and we've been working on this since at least September 2018. because we did a council motion in September 2018 asking for this, and we finally got it in 2021. And Lambeth, who we're copying, actually did this back in 2015, which was 6 years ago. So I don't know, I guess we're going to see whether it will have any impact. With the Theos, we can ask maybe the Tower Hamlets enforcement officers, and maybe they kind of do these big weekend activities, because it's really interesting when you look at the heat map of where the worst NOx and antisocial behaviour use. It's actually not that many places. It's kind of Wapping by the riverside. There's a place in Stepney Green which really suffers from it. There's one street in Island Gardens that really suffers from it. So it wouldn't actually require a big effort, for one van, in a couple of evenings to kind of move around the 5 worst places for NOx and issue those fines. And maybe that will have an impact. And that's what we'll be asking for, is at least the Tower Hamlets Council funded police officers are dedicated for a couple of weekends to issuing as many fixed penalty notices as they can. Because, if you're having to pay £100, to inhale those things, and you're paying for them as well, that might encourage you to go somewhere else. And then we'll have to do this again in a year's time, and then, just keep doing it until people get the message.
Yeah, I found the heat map quite interesting. You tweeted that. I found that, and it does chime with my experience in my lane, where Salmon Lane, for various reasons, is an ASB hotspot, and it's because of the quiet roads. It was designed initially for quiet roads. It's got loads of cul-de-sacs, and it just attracts certain behaviour. That's what it is. And the activity is being pushed from Limehouse, where they had Operation Naga and all these other operations, and it's just basically pushed it across the road from Ropemakersfield onto that. So it is an interesting heat map, but it just shows that it's very small areas where we just need to have a joint up approach to these issues, and improve people's quality of life. So we're near the end of the program. Andrew, is there anything in the coming week that people should watch out for, apart from the referendum result, the elections that we're going to be?
Just a reminder that it's, it polls open at 7 a.m. in the morning on Thursday and then close at 10 p.m. like a normal election. Most of the polling stations are the same as the last set of elections. So, and the process is the same. The only difference is that you should probably take your own pen or pen. And there'll be pens and pencils there, but because of COVID, and obviously, wear your mask and take a pencil basically when you go.
Got you. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the turnout is. That's what I'm going to be looking at. So I'm taking the day off work as per my duty to the party, sort of ish. So I'm going to be out there all day, walking the beat, sort of ish. But it'd be interesting to see what happens and get that feel for it, and that'll actually give us an indication of what happens in 2022 as well. I think so. It'd be an interesting election to watch. But just want to say we're at the end of our program. Thank you again for listeners for watching this show. On the Weekly Politics Show, I'm Councillor Premier with co-host Councillor Andrew Wood on Relax Radio. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the bank holiday weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.